Now we all know that if you want to play great golf, you're going to want to shallow that club out in the transition, get the club coming from the inside or in the slot, and that makes golf way easier. Well, I've put together 3 of my all-time best videos on helping you to shallow that club up, get it in the slot, and hit some great power draws out there and make golf a whole heck of a lot more fun. Let's go ahead and get started. We've been taught the wrong way to stop slicing. I mean, think about it. How many times have you come across a tip, you've tried it out to try to improve your slice, and it simply hasn't worked? Now, you're a great athlete. I guarantee you that if you were taught the right way, you'd be able to fix your slice just like that. So what is it about the traditional way of trying to stop the slice that doesn't work? We're going to get into that, and then we're also going to talk about my very simple 4-step process. When you follow this, it's the quickest, easiest way to improve your slice. It really works like magic. So why does the traditional method of not slicing not work? Well, what's happening when you slice is you're coming a little bit over the top, or your swing path is coming out and your club is moving right to left across the ball. Now, I'm exaggerating there. You may not be doing it this much, but that club is moving from right to left across this golf ball. Now, when you do this, you're keenly aware that you have to have your face open. If this face isn't open, that ball's gonna go a mile to the left. So if I'm coming over the top and I release the face, that ball's going straight out of bounds left, right? So I'm not gonna do that. Again, you're a good athlete, your body senses this, so you hold that face open as you swing to the left. That allows the ball to start kind of down the left side of the fairway and then fade into the fairway. And when you do it well, it's right in the middle of the fairway. You lose a little bit of yardage doing that, but you can still hit some good shots. Every once in a while, it goes a little bit haywire, you lose even more yardage, you don't hit it very solid, you end up to the right or to the left. It can really cause a lot of problems in your golf swing. Now, the traditional way of saying stop the slice is by saying, let's swing more inside out or to the right. Get that inside out path. Get this club in the slot here as we're making the downswing. The problem with that is, as a slicer, you're aware that the face always needs to be open. Remember, if I swing to the left and I release the face, that ball's going out of bounds. So by being used to having that face open, now when you swing inside out, that ball not only starts to the right in the right rough, but then it still slices. We haven't gotten rid of the slice, and it's a terrible shot to the right. Well, again, being the athlete you are, you realize that's not what you want to do, so you start going back to that over the top again to get the ball back out in the fairway. So it's kind of a never-ending cycle between trying to swing inside out, it not working, and then going back to what you're comfortable with. We're going to break that process today. Now, one thing that nobody else in any of their programs have, and you've probably seen a ton of slicing programs. I've seen a lot lately charging $97 to teach you how to fix your slice. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to charge you anything. You're going to get all for free here today. But they're still missing something in those programs. It's the way that your body naturally learns. It's called interleaving practice, and it's one of the most studied topics in motor learning. I'm going to talk about that in my 4-step process, and I'll tell you what, if you follow along with these drills, it doesn't take hardly any time at all, and you're never going to slice again. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're about to jump into this 4-step process, but before we do, we really have to understand why we're doing these 4 steps. If we don't understand the why, what's going to happen is we'll try these out, we'll forget about it a couple days later, we'll be right back slicing again. I want you to eliminate the slice forever, and understanding the why is a big piece of that. So piece number 1 is going to be controlling this club face. You remember that I said when you're coming over the top, traditionally, you have to have that club face open to be able to get that ball to start toward the fairway and not go way left if you're coming over the top like that. So you're very used to having the face open. What we're going to do is we're going to employ a technique called interleaving. It's also called random practice or variable practice. It's been highly studied in motor learning. And what you're trying to do here is you're trying to feel the extremes. So we already are used to having the extreme of having the face open. Now I need to have the extreme of really closing that face and having it super closed. I got a couple easy tips that are going to get you to close that face really to the extreme. Now, when that's happening, balls are going to go directly left, and that's a good thing. We have to get those balls going way left so that now when we do step 2, which is going to be swinging more inside out, now it's going to make sense of why we'd want to swing inside out. So when you swing inside out now, you're going to be releasing that face. It's going to start to the right side of the fairway and then draw back in to the middle of the fairway. You're going to have more speed and power because you're going to have less loft coming into the club. It's going to really, the ball is going to pop off the face. It's going to be way better. So again, we're going to employ interleaving practice there. We already know how to swing to the left, but we're going to go really extreme and swing way to the left so we can feel that extreme. We're going to go really extreme, swing way to the right so that we can feel that. That's the fastest way to learn. Using those interleaving techniques will take days and weeks off your practice versus hours. You can really change it like that if you use this. The third step is going to be getting to the ball. We're going to talk about why there's a problem when I use my inside out technique, my inside out swing. Now all of a sudden it's difficult for me to get to the ball for what I'm used to. And there's a specific way you move your body, some specific drills to be able to reach the ball so you feel comfortable hitting it with some power. And then finally, the fourth step is we're going to take that hook that we've developed, really starting that ball down the right rough and drawing it back big time right to left curve, and we're going to tone that down to a draw. You follow these 4 steps and the whys, and you'll never struggle with that slice again. All right, so now we're ready for the fun part. Let's jump right in here. Let's learn the first piece, which is controlling that face. Now, if I can get the face to open as much as I want and close as much as I want and really get those extremes, now I have control over this club face. I can get it to do whatever I want it to do. That's the goal of this. That's why we're going to these extremes, so we can feel both ways. Now, you're already comfortable having the face open. So I want you to feel that even more extreme. Now, I'm not going to hit this one very hard because it's going to go right into the pond here, but I want you to make a little mini swing. You could use a driver. You could even do this with a 6 or 7 iron if you want to. We don't have to do this with a driver. If you feel a little bit more comfortable, you can start with that, then move to the driver, which is a little longer, not as easy to hit. But I'm going to feel like the face is wide open. So as you swing, I want to feel like the face is pointing directly to the right, and I'm just going to get a little 30 or 40 yard shot, and you can see that ball shot off to the right. I still hit it in the water, lost the golf ball, but that's all right. So the second piece here, and we're going to alternate these. We're going to do 10 swings, 10 swings each, so 20 total swings. In the second one, I'm going to really get this ball to go dead to the left, which means my club face is going to be very closed as I'm coming into this shot. This is not going to be a good golf shot. It's not even supposed to be really a golf shot. It's just a face awareness drill. And once you get awareness of this face, now I can do whatever I want to with it. Here's the steps to make this work. Number 1, you're going to feel like in the backswing, you really rotate these hands clockwise. So if I had a door handle, I'm going to rotate the handle to the left, and now logo of my glove is facing down. If I had it with my right hand, I'm going to turn it to the left, the palm of my hand is facing down. So this would be kind of a normal backswing. I'm going to rotate everything down. Now the face is really closed. If I do that with a golf club, you'll see that as I go back, this would be a normal swing. I'm rotating it until everything is very closed here. So if I went back down to my impact, that would be face pointing way over to the left there. That's exactly what we want. So you're going to feel like the logo of your glove is pointing out. Again, your hands are turning that doorknob to the left, and everything is very closed here. As you come down and swing, I want you to visualize the sweet spot of your golf club being all the way on the outside of the golf ball. So if I swung, it would just go almost graze my left leg is the feeling that I'm going to have. So very closed, close all the way through. Get to the outside of the golf ball so it goes straight left. So let me show you what that would look like on just a little mini swing here. So just dead to the left. Again, 30, 40 yards is all we're doing. If you're seeing this ball barely go to the left, so if I make a swing and the golf ball looks like this, so just a little bit to the left, then I'm not doing nearly enough. Again, I want to feel like this thing is just shooting past my left leg. You're going to alternate 20 swings, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 to the left. Now, the alternation is what's really key here, because that's what's going to allow your brain to feel the differences between face open and face closed. If I just try to do the closed one and the closed one only, it's not going to work. Now, if those drills don't work and you need to get even more extreme, I got a couple more tips for you. That was the backswing, and that's the easiest way to do it. You kind of set it closed in the backswing and keep it closed coming on through. If you're still struggling, we're going to close it in the backswing, just like we talked about. Hands turning to left, this club face closing, and then we're going to close it even more in the downswing. So as you come through, imagine the hands rolling on over. So if you had something between your forearms, I want my forearms to roll over each other, and now you'll see the face of this club is pointing directly down to the ground. If I'm going toward the camera here, that would look like this. Close, everything's closed in the backswing, and then in the downswing, it's going to look like that. Face is down, this is logo down, forearms rolled over each other. So close going back, even more close coming through to really hook it. Now if you do that, that ball is going dead left here. Let me show you one real quick. So again, I'm trying to go more and more extreme. Whatever my feeling has to be is completely fine to make this happen. So I'm very closed, and then I'm rolling it on over. Almost like you're taking the logo of your glove and twisting it this way. High handicap golfers tend to take the glove and turn it this way to move the club through contact. That's a back and forth like that. Low handicap golfers tend to bow that wrist and turn it this way. So the palm of my hand is up and I'm releasing it. When I add the right hand in there, that's releasing it that way. So again, I'm very, very extreme, very exaggerated with this. As you can see, it's just going dead to the left. It's very key that you do that. Do those 20 swings and we're ready to move on to the next step. All right, so once we've done those reps, and to be honest with you, you don't have to do 20. 10 would be completely fine as long as they're successful. So if you're making them go left and you're making them go right, that's really all we're after. Once you've learned that and done it a few times, it's pretty easy to do. So you don't have to just go out there all day and hit a whole bucket like that. A few shots just to get awareness of the face, now you're ready to move on. Now the second piece, we have to get an awareness of the path now. So we know how to close and open the face from the drill we just did, turning the hand close on the backswing, rotating on through close in the forward swing. Now we have to understand how to get that pathway to the right, and then also what causes a pathway to the left. So imagine I'm swinging at this tee here, and I'm gonna actually make my path go way to the left. Imagine that if I was gonna keep my feet basically lined up like toward the target here, but I wanted to swing directly 90 degrees to the left. Well, what I'd have to do is my upper body would have to shift too far forward. Now all of a sudden my shoulders would have to open up this way. My foot would obviously have to come off the ground there, but then I would be able to swing directly to the left. So what I want you to do here, seems a little silly, but go ahead and put a tee down as though you were gonna hit that ball 90 degrees that way. So I'm gonna set up to where a normal golf shot would be. I'm gonna rotate my body to the left, and now all of a sudden I'm gonna swing that direction. So you'll notice what happens here. Look at my hips, very open. Look at my shoulders up over my front foot. They're pointing to the left, and that allows me to swing in that direction. You're doing that a little bit when you come over the top. Over the top players tend to get out in front of it. The body starts going this way. My shoulders start getting more over this lead leg, and that promotes a right to left over the top type path. Let's go the opposite direction now. I want you to turn 90 degrees this way, like I'm gonna hit toward the camera, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a tee down there also, just outside my right foot. So again, here's my normal ball. Feet are set up like I'm going down the fairway, and now I'm gonna go ahead and rotate, and I'll move because I put the tee down in the wrong spot, but I'd have to lift up my left foot. Now my chest is way over my right foot. I'd really be able to swing out to the right and hit that way. My weight would be more on my back foot. If you're over the top, your weight's on your left foot. If I'm coming from the inside, my weight stays on this back foot a little longer and then shifts forward. So you're naturally gonna do all these things. I could sit here and go over every single little tiny detail about what your feet, your hips, your shoulders, everything would be doing different, but I don't need to do all that. All I need to do is put a tee over here, an imaginary ball over here, and get you to make some swings where you're gonna swing directly out to the right. That's all you gotta do, it's that simple. So again, 20 swings. We're gonna do one way left and then immediately go one way to the right. You don't have to hit a golf ball when doing this, and you don't even really need the tees. You can do this right from your living room. Just try to get the swing path 90 degrees that way, 90 degrees that way. Then we're ready to move on to step number 3, because now we're gonna have complete control of the extremes of the path. All right, so finally, there's an obvious problem with what I've taught you so far. When I'm making my swing path to the right, that's fine, and we all could swing to the right, but now all of a sudden our ball would have to be way back here in the stance. If you're gonna swing with a really inside-out path, I'd have to have the ball way back here so that I can make that kind of swing direction. If my ball's up here, where it should be, kind of on my left foot with a driver, now my body's kind of in the way. I can't really get to that golf ball. And the reason for that is this. Whenever you're taking your normal swing and we're a little over the top, remember now, my hips are often behind my upper body and my shoulders. When we did that swing where I was way to the left, that's exactly what's going on. When you're having your over the top swing, that's what's happening. It's a little bit, the upper body is in front of the lower body, and that's promoting that over the top swing. So this is blocking you, my hips are blocking me from swinging more to the inside. So I try to swing to the inside, but I have this bad body alignment, and now my hips are jammed up and they're in the way. By making the swing 90 degrees to the right, we fix that. There's no way you can swing this direction with your hips in the way. I've had to clear my hips back this way, my shoulders got to the right of my hips, and now I could swing out in that direction. That's something you naturally do when you just try to swing that direction. But not really gonna transfer over to hitting a good golf shot because I'd have to have my ball way back here to get that big inside out path. And if I wanted a little bit less of an inside out path, I'd have to have it there. And by the time I get back up here again, it feels awkward. So here's what we're gonna do. We have to learn to get the body out of the way to promote that inside path. I have to make a lot of room here so that I can hit this ball from the inside and have plenty of room for my club to travel that way. There's a very simple drill I have for this. So number one, I'm gonna go ahead and set up, this would be my imaginary golf ball that I'm gonna hit. I'm gonna put one tee 6 inches behind that and another one 6 inches behind that. So I'm gonna set up as though this is the golf ball I'm gonna hit, this front tee. Then I'm gonna gradually work on swinging to the right and hitting each of those tees as I'm doing that. So again, I'm gonna get the same feeling I had when I was swinging in this direction, really out to the right. I'm gonna try to clip this tee. Now, in order to do that, I have to get my hips out of the way. So I really want you to feel like this leg is angled in, and now you've created all this space here to allow your arms to swing to the right. And you'll see I can still get this really extreme. For now, let's go really extreme and get that ball swinging way, or that club swinging way out there to the right, and I'm gonna hit that back tee. Now, if I move one tee forward, then I'm gonna have to go even more. My hips are gonna have to go even more out of the way, my shoulders are angled back, and now I've created all this room to where I can still swing, say 45 degrees to the right and hit that second tee. There we go. So now my body's getting out of the way for the first time. We're getting rid of this motion and getting in the opposite of that, which is, again, I'm going extreme here. I'm taking advantage of this interleaving to make things faster. And then finally, I'm gonna go to this front tee and do the exact same thing. Again, I have to make huge amounts of space, let my body clear out of the way to be able to hit that tee. I'm gonna swing it again 45 to the right, and you can see now how I could really make an inside out swing that my hips are out of the way. So let's put this together now. We have the club face closing. We now have a new feeling of how to swing inside out. Let's just do both of them at the same time. So let's grab a golf ball here, and I want you to make a huge hook. I want you to feel like you're swinging 45 degrees to the right, way toward this house. I don't even know if you can see that in the frame, but almost out of the frame to the right. And then I want to have that club face closing down so that ball really hooks back. So if I do this correctly, I'm going to start this ball way over that pond, and I'm going to try to hook it back all the way into the left side of the fairway. Now I may not get that extreme, but that's the feeling that I'm trying to get. So I'm closing in the backswing, creating this room in here to swing to the right, and I'm really letting that thing swing. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Oh, awesome. So that ball was a huge hook. Started kind of down the right side of the fairway, and it hooked all the way over to the left side of the fairway. So you'll see from my flight scope numbers there, the path or the direction I was swinging is way to the right, and my face is closing down to the left of that. That's how you get that big hook. Now I want you to go ahead and repeat that 5 more times. So again, if I'm not swinging far enough to the right, my goal is to get those shoulders lined up more behind my body, clear the hips out of the way, and then I can really have that path to the right. I want to feel like, and this isn't actually happening, but I want to feel like my club almost grazes my leg as I'm swinging through here, coming so far inside out. Let me go ahead and try this one again. I'm going to try to start it even more to the right and hook it even more on this one if I can. Let's give it a whirl. There we go. So I started that one kind of in the right edge of the fairway, and it probably hooked a good, I don't know, maybe 50 yards, something like that. And if we look at the flight scope again, we're going to see the same thing. Pathway to the right and the face really closed. That's what creates the big hook. Don't be afraid of that. I want to see big hooks from you at first. I want the more the better. If you can hook at 60 yards, hook at 60. That'd be fantastic at this point, because the next step, we're going to straighten this out into a draw. All right, so here's the cool thing. Now that we've got these extremes and we're really trying to swing out there, I bet you can make what feels like a normal swing, and because you've made these such extreme exaggerations, your normal swing is going to be pretty straight now. So I bet if you go ahead and you just take a normal swing, whatever you feel like, don't worry about any instruction, you're probably going to be geared a little bit more toward a draw. So let's go ahead and give that a whirl. Yeah, and you can see there, I just hit a nice draw right down the middle of the fairway. Couldn't have hit one much better than that. Now the cool thing about this is that you now have control of it. We haven't thrown a Band-Aid on this. We've actually learned how to control the face. We've done some drills where it's really closed. We've done some drills where it's really open. You're starting to getting a feel, you're starting to develop a feel of what your hands and arms feel like to create an open and closed face. We also learned what it means to swing more from the inside out, how we have to create this pocket back here by angling our body, so now we have room to swing inside out. And if we want to go the other way, we even know what we have to do to come over the top. We create this pocket in the other direction. Shoulders get ahead, hips get back, and now I can swing to the left. So you have control over how to make a path to the right and the left. Now, when you have control of those two things, you can do whatever you want to do. If the ball starts to hook a little bit too much, you go a little bit more toward your fade swing and straighten it out. If the ball starts to slice a little bit too much, you go a little bit more toward your hook swing and start to straighten it out. So now you have the real tools to be able to solve any problem that you want to. Now, if you're struggling with your slice, I have got the video for you. I have this one simple distinction between what the right elbow does and what the right wrist does that can help you to get rid of that slice once and for all. Let's go and get started. All right, guys, a slice, something that is really plagues a lot of people's golf games. Now, I got my flight scope out here. It's gonna measure what happens here at the golf ball, and I'm gonna try to go ahead and hit a slice. I'm gonna feel like my right hand is a little bit more on top of the club or turned to the left side. My right elbow pit is a little bit more in, or the back of my elbow would be out this way, and my right shoulder is a little bit more on top. Now, if I do those things, that is a perfect recipe to hit a great big slice. There we go. So that one started down the left side, sliced across the ball. Wasn't the worst shot in the world. I could definitely live with it. I didn't hit it that bad. But for those of you who are hitting that slice that just keeps on going that way, sometimes it'll really exaggerate and go into the woods. That can be so frustrating. So on that one, if we're looking at the details here, we're going to see that the path was 13.4 to the left. That means the club's swing direction was 13.4 degrees to the left. This stick is basically straight ahead, so I was swinging in that direction. My face was open to my path, so my face was opened up, kind of pointing straight ahead. That got that slice spin on there. Didn't, like I said, it wasn't the worst drive in the world. 115 club head speed, that was pretty decent. 250 carry, 270 total. Once we start to straighten this out though, you're gonna see those numbers pick up a lot. So that may not look the worst, but in reality, that's cutting a lot of distance off. That's no different than the guy who normally drives at 200 that hits the big slice and it goes 170 when they could be hitting the draw that goes 210 or 220, hitting a lot more square. And here's the real key with this. It took me a long time to realize what pro golfers, the best golfers in the world, are doing to get that club with some forward shaft lean to square up that face. And it has to do with the difference between your forearm, so your radius and your ulna. And if you feel, go ahead and grab your wrist here. There's two bones. You can feel two knobs kind of sticking out there on your wrist. As you turn, just like you're turning a doorknob to the left, you'll feel those two bones kind of roll over each other. That's your radius and your ulna turning that way. If I go the other way, turn it to the right, that's the radius and ulna going this way. Now what most people tend to do is they keep the wrist, so my flat inside of my wrist, lined up with the inside of my elbow. So that would be a wide open club face. You can see here, if I hold that up, if my wrist is flat and my elbow is flat, that is wide open. If I was to swing a golf club like that, that would be this move. It's wide open, and now I would hit that ball so far to the right, I would just hit every single one of them out of bounds. So instinctively, like, because we're all good athletes, we say, I don't want to do that. You know, your first couple swings ever playing golf, you hit them to the right and you say, that's no good. So what am I going to do? Well, I don't change the relationship between my wrist and my forearm, but you do come over the top, get that right shoulder up high. Now you've squared up that inside of the elbow and the inside of the wrist to come more over the top. Now the ball starts more on line, but then you still have that big slice. So if we want to do it like the pros are doing this, we want to go ahead and release that wrist different than what's happening with the elbow. So now, let's grab the elbow. So we talked about how the wrist can rotate this way or that way. Let's talk about the elbow. As I'll rotate my elbow out to the side, then that's going to be my shoulder coming on top. Now my elbow pit is turned in. If I tuck that under, like you're seeing with a lot of pros do in their swing, my elbow pit is up, my elbow is pointing more toward my right hip. Now the key from there is keep this the same. Go ahead and grab your right forearm up here by your elbow pit. Keep that the same, and now go ahead and rotate your wrist to the left. You'll notice that you can rotate your wrist separate of what your elbow is doing. So I can rotate that wrist to close the club face. If I held that up, again, that's that open club face. As I rotate my wrist, not my elbow, that lets the face release and turn on over. If I want some forward shaft lean, I can even have that wrist back and I can still rotate it either direction. So that would look a lot like this. Now the reason that's so important to have the wrist different than the elbow is that if I want to swing from the inside, I have to have my elbow in. If my elbow comes out, my shoulder pops up, I'm going to swing to the left across the ball. with my elbow pit in, my shoulder's in, I have a tilt away from the golf ball, and now I can swing from the inside. But again, the key to that is I have to be able to square that face up while swinging from the inside. That's the one thing that separates being able to hit a draw from not being able to hit a draw, or one of the main things. So what I want you to do here, let's go ahead and keep that elbow tucked in on the downswing, feel like you're coming from the inside, and I want you to stop about halfway down. Look at the club face and see how it's perpendicular to the ground. Now, let's go ahead and close that club face down. You'll see how my left wrist bows at the same time. Let's go to contact, and let's see how that elbow pit is in, but now my face is squared up. Imagine the palm of your hand being the club face. As that comes through, that has to rotate to square that club face up. So if I exaggerate that, I can hit 2 or 3 shots here for you, and I'll show you what's happening. If again, the incorrect way, if my elbow pit is out, my elbow comes up, my path goes to the left. That's going to be that slice. That was actually a pretty decent one there. I did all those draw swings. I couldn't get one to slice very much, but that's a little bit of a slice. My path was moving to the left. The direction my club was swinging to the left. If I tuck that elbow in, but I don't release the hand, now my path goes to the right. You'll see this ball start to the right, but then it slices even farther to the right. That's what most people struggle with. The last piece, let's get that in, and now it's release that hand. Feel like your hand is coming around the outside of the ball with that elbow staying in as you're doing that, and you're going to be able to get that ball to draw every single time. So again, elbow in, feel like the hand releases over top of the golf ball. I'm really going to feel a nice big draw here. There we go, started that one down the right center. Over exaggerated, it drew right back into the middle of the fairway though. Probably 15, maybe even 20-yard draw on that one. And let's look at the numbers on that one and see what the difference was between the face and path and distance. Instead of being 13 to the left like the beginning of the video, that one's 9 to the right. So probably a little overdone, but that's good to start out. My club head speed was 1 mile an hour slower. I think before it carried 250. That one carried 294, swinging 1 mile an hour slower. My total distance was 318.8. Before it was like 270. So that's 50 yards more distance, swinging 1 mile an hour slower on there. And just to prove that this is pretty easy to do, once you get the motion down, I'm gonna tuck the elbow in again, release that hand. So I'm doing this and feeling like the club is turning on over as I'm hitting the golf ball without letting that elbow pop out. The elbow has to stay in when I'm doing that. And now I can hit that draw consistently. There you go, again, over exaggerated a little bit, really got that to sling some more. But the beginning, 115 miles an hour swing speed and 250 carry. That was 118. I swung a little bit faster on that one, carried at 299. Total distance was 333. Let's just for fun go ahead and really rip one just to see what we can do if we go all out. So again, the same idea, same characteristics. I'm just going to try to swing a little bit harder on this one, see if we can get closer to that 120 miles per hour. My ball's scared, it's running away already. All right, so I'm gonna get a big shoulder turn, really let it rip. There we go, killed that one. That was the best one so far. Again, kept that elbow in, released that hand. Got a nice draw on there, nice and high. Club head speed is 119.5, definitely the best so far, so I swung a little harder at that one. 311 carry, 345 total distance. I don't think I'm gonna do much better than that. Most players, when they try to hit a nice straight shot, will end up releasing the club and it won't get vertical until about waist high in the follow through. Let me actually turn this way so you can see a little bit better. If I'm hitting toward the camera, most players visualize that club face should be vertical or straight up and down when it's about waist high as I'm coming through here. If you want to hit a straight shot or you want to hit a little bit of a draw, it should actually be about like that. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the proper way to release a golf club. And you'll actually notice a lot of pros as they're coming through and they hit this golf ball, the toe is already released around, closed past parallel when the club's about 45 degrees in front. So that toe is closing and it's releasing down. So what I want you to do to get rid of that slice, to start to finally hit that draw, is do a few practice swings where you make a little half practice swing, a full back swing, you pause when the club's 45 degrees in front. That would be a little bit of a fade, that vertical face. When I pause, this club's swinging 45 degrees in front again, I'm gonna go ahead and rotate it a little bit more. That would be a power draw there. That would really be turning over from right to left when I'm doing this. So this is a little bit of a straight shot. This is a fade. That's a nice power draw. So if you're struggling to hit that shot that slices a little too much, I want you to go ahead and really exaggerate hitting that power draw, really letting that release here. So once you get that in your swing for 4 or 5 times, little practice swings, step up to the golf ball. I don't want you to worry about anything else other than recreating that release point out in front, and that's gonna make that ball a lot easier to get it to turn over from right to left. Let's give it a whirl here. There we go, really nice and straight. Just drew a hair back actually into the wind, so a really good shot there. Now, piece number 2 is a really simple one to work on the path. I like to fix the face first. I like you to go ahead and get that face turning on over, that face releasing like the pros should be doing. And then once you fix the face, then let's start to swing out to the right. I find that most players have the face way too open like we talked about here, like that, never squaring up. As they come through contact, the face is open. So when you try to swing more to the right, that ball just goes way to the right and really weak. Let's get that face releasing. Hit in a couple of real good hard draws doing the first one. Once you've done that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take about a 1.5 foot length, and I'm gonna do it right down my target line here. And I'm gonna set up a head cover about 1.5 feet behind the golf ball that would be on my target line. So if this is my target line, I don't have that lined up perfectly probably. I'm going toward that orange flag out there. That's my target line. I'm gonna put the tip of the head cover right on that line. Then I'm gonna go 1.5 feet in this direction, and I'm gonna put the tip of my head cover right on that line there too. Now this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but this just gives you a pretty good window now to where I wanna swing to the inside of this head cover, and I wanna swing to the outside of that head cover. Now that's pretty exaggerated. I like to exaggerate it at first because I'd rather see you get rid of that slice and overdraw it than to keep battling the slice for a long time. So let's go ahead and tee another one up here. And I'm gonna feel the same thing. I'm gonna pair it up with the first feeling. So now I'm gonna get my body leaned a little bit more to the right. Big key here to be able to split this path. I want my hips to feel like they're closing a little bit, and I wanna feel like my upper body is getting behind this golf ball. You'll see when I do that, that closes me to my target a little bit. And that makes it easier to swing from the inside. So I've got these 2 head covers as a visual. I'm swinging between those head covers. I've got my release point out in front, which I'm really letting it roll. So as soon as I feel like I'm throwing this club, it's gonna release like that. And now, with this setup, if you put both those 2 things together, you're really gonna hit a power draw here. This thing is really gonna start to move pretty nice from right to left. There we go, and that one was hit well. Nice hard draw, start a little right of the target, curve back left of the target. Great shot for what I'm doing here. Now, the third piece is a way that makes it easier. You get all this right, I'm gonna teach you how the pros do the wrist angle that you see all the time. You'll see almost every single pro with that nice flat wrist as they're coming into contact. The right wrist has a ton of lag. This club's lagging way behind like that. The face is always squaring up. That makes it a whole lot easier. There's a certain way that the pros move their wrists and hands in the golf swing to make that happen, and I have a drill called the tennis racket drill that makes that super, super easy to get that feeling. That way, once you get this tennis racket drill correct, you can release that club and it automatically wants to turn over, like we talked about here. The momentum of the club is wanting to kick over and get that ball drawing for you time and time again. If you want to see that video, I'm going to play a preview for you here in just 1 second. All you need to do is go ahead and click one of those cards, those little circles with some text that pop up on the screen, somewhere on the screen here. If you don't see the card, don't worry. Go down to the link down below in the description. You'll get instant access to it there too. This tennis racket drill is going to make things super easy. Once you pair it up with what we talked about here today, you're not going to be able to stop drawing the golf ball. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the tennis racket drill. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is, instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it, the flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that, and then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane, and at the same time,